Managing Partner of EB5AN. Thank you for taking time to join us for today's webinar. Today, we're going to be discussing our Bay Creek Rural Senior EB5 Loan Project. We'll be chatting with Shiv from India, a recent EB5 investor who joined the project, and getting information from him about his experience, his process, and what led him to explore an EB5 investment. So to start, Shiv, thank you for taking a few minutes to join us today. To start, would you mind introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your background, your bio, and what led you to pursue EB5?
Sure. So thanks Sam, for this opportunity, and really glad to be here and providing my view and my journey experience for EB5. So I'm Shiv. I'm from Maharashtra, India, and I'm a software engineer, and I have 3 kids and wife, and I'm on H1. So my journey, if I start right, like I would start from the beginning, like since when I came to US. So I, as a software engineer, came first to US in 2005. But so that's the, I was in US for like a couple of years, but then somehow it didn't click for me, so I went back. And I got an opportunity in 2015, which was really good from a career point of view. So I moved with family back to US. And at that time, I still on H1, still using the same H1 I had received on the 2005, and then my employer did my like a green card petition. So priority date 2016. So everything is fine, right? I changed the employer. I have with another employer now, and retained the same priority and with the same employer for 5+ years. So when I had never faced any like immigration issues, right? Like the visa, and in general, like my wife is on H4EAD, so we had pretty kind of a normal immigration like a experience. And the things like my daughter, when we moved here, she was in 4th grade, and last year 2024 she went to college. Now she's going to age out in 2027 next year. And then we were just started to, because until then, as a you are really not thinking a lot of ahead, right? And that's something I think a lot of parents I have seen who are in similar situation as mine, they do, like they be here and they just keep things to the last, right? And hoping for the best would happen, right? And I was kind of hoping that 2016 priority date, by the time 2015 would come, things would be fine, right? And but it did not. And considering the current timelines, it is not realistic that as me, like I would get the green card due to the backlog in, don't think like in next 10 years, right? So the main challenge, personally, I was not having any issue, but the kids, my daughter, since she would be aging out, and we did try F1 route from here, but there are risks with this F1. We got an RFE, and when we were thinking more and more around that, right? This happened around mid of early last year, around April 25, and due to new administration policies and others, right? The F1 visa was kind of it was really having hard time to follow that path, and the future also there seemed like you had to go to the same route. And since my daughters, 2 daughters, both are born in India, they would go through the similar experience of if they want to they have spent their whole life here, right? They are kind of they grow up here. They consider this as their country, right? But and for them, it would be very hard to again go through the similar experience of H1 and others. So we were kind of like so a friend told us about EB5, and that's where it kind of my journey with EB5 exploration started. Sam, you should I continue, or you want to?
Got it. Okay, no, that's great. Yeah. So your friend mentioned EB5 might be a potential solution. You know, that's a common problem with, you know, kids getting older, aging out that weren't born in the US. So please continue. So you learned about EB5 as a potential solution, and then, you know, how did you kind of take it forward from there?
Sure. So EB5, right? As I heard EB5, like I was more like I knew about EB5, but I never kind of seriously gave it a thought, right? Because of the uh, because of the money involved, right? Like you had to add like 800K. Earlier it used to be 500K, now 800K. And as I went into the kind of a more deep, uh, like doing my own due diligence on this, right? I understood like uh, a lot of different terms which are involved, right? So I found a Discord group which uh, it's like a it had like similar folks who are in the similar situation, right? Each kind of trying to provide guidance, answers. So the Discord group really gave me kind of insights into how people are kind of uh, uh, like proceeding with their EB5 journey, right? So right from basic terms which were involved, right? Different EB5, like there is a reserved, unreserved, then HUA, rural, then infrastructure. So all those like what pros, cons, like HUA has, the rural has higher priority, HUA has more kind of a less risk compared to rural, and the infra has had really very few projects at that time, and but the quota was really small, right? So I started following like a multiple blogs and like the potential retrogression in EB5. So I was kind of taking them, I took it more kind of seriously, right? So I started evaluating my options, like from a funding point of view, where I stand, what I need to do, right? And during those conversations and reading other people's how they are like working on their SOF, right? That is another term, right? Source of funds, right? So how they are preparing for the source of fund detailing, and got to know about different ways you can uh, have that source of fund, like HELOC. You can use SDIRA, you can use 401k based loans, and you can do the liquidity access line, right, which is mostly you pledge your equities and you take as a collateral, and you take a loan against that. So uh, those kind of options, which when they kind of came in those forms, right, and when I did my like analysis, I kind of felt like, okay, if I stretch my limit a bit, I could make this work. And also I had no, like there were also few folks who were going to the through the route of using what you call that, unsecured loans, which is offered by some RCs. So I was kind of also evaluating that part, that those loans were kind of new in nature, which we recently started, and there was kind of a bit skepticism around that, or bit kind of uncertainty around that path. And but when I did further analysis on that, right, I had that as an option as well, right? So I kind of kept all these options for source of fund, and I was also evaluating options around is like selling my Indian assets and bringing that fund over here, but kind of decided against that because of the additional complexity and the legal uh, due diligence needed from like both lawyer plus you need in Indian like a lot of additional details. So I felt like that would further delay the overall process, and I was trying to kind of get in get that 526E like filed as soon as possible. So that kind of a really those timelines really made my like options a bit limited. So the next step after like figuring out the source of fund part, obviously the next one was like which lawyer should I be working with. So again, the community was to help. So if based on the due diligence I did, like there are few like the big firms, right, who offer their services, and also there are a lot of like there are few reputed the private firms, right, which offer these the legal representation for you. And based on again community feedback and looking at like what kind of based on like what is all included in their the services, right? That kind of analysis which was done, because you have 526E, then there is like it's kind of a long journey. So you need to look at not only from the beginning, you have to think about the later stages, right? When you have to remove those conditions. So when we look at the whole end-to-end the timeline, you have to work with somebody who has been in the space for a long, right? And the people have a good experience with them. So I shortlisted on a specific legal firm, and
as you
Yeah.
as you were kind of doing that analysis and research on potential immigration firms, what was most important to you? Bigger firm, smaller firm, the price, timing? Like how did you, after you did a few of the interviews, what kind of stuck out and made you decide to go with the firm you ultimately hired?
Yes, so that was thanks for that. Like that was one of the key reasons, right? Like once I identified a few, first was that the availability, right? Because the legal teams like of all these firms are really we need to find they are kind of a backlog right now, because you need to work with them and make sure that your case will be a priority for them, right? And they will give the due like required attention, and it would complete within the whole process. Like at least the SOF, which takes the max amount of time, would be completed within a reasonable time frame, right? That's what the expectation was. Obviously, the financial cost was certainly there involved, but based on my analysis, which I had done, more or less they are kind of each are very competitive with each other, right? So that was not a key factor. Honestly, it was more around getting the kind of the commitment from the lawyer team that it would be completed within like the petition would be filed within, let's say, a month or two. So the due diligence and the completion was a key reason.
Okay, and remind me, which law firm did you end up hiring after going through the diligence process?
Yeah, so I went with Darren Silver and the firm.
Okay.
I had a initial call with Darren, and I had, based on the community feedback, overall very positive. So I had a quick call, explain my case, explain my how the source of fund will look like, and yeah, then just signed a retainer.
Okay, got it. And once you had decided to go with Darren, walk us through what that, process was after getting him engaged in terms of gathering documents and working closely with his team to get it all organized. How long did that process take from engagement to being finished and ready to pick a project? And just share a little bit about what that process was like, for someone who's considering going.
Yes. So the one thing, once I started with Darren, right, had initial the call, and I received a document checklist which was very exhaustive. and I had taken some break, so which really helped me to kind of complete all the required documentation. The documentation required is very thorough. Means I was really surprised that the kind of a detailing one needs, right? So I had to some of the information, like my whole the amount of time I have been in the country mattered, and also the kind of source of fund is also very crucial. If one has a single source of fund, right, like from the one source, like if you're just using your equities and using that as a one, it is much easier, right? Then you have a much cleaner. It's much easier to get all the information from one place. But for my case, I was using like multiple, like I was trying to get HELOC, I was trying to use SDIRA and also the equity based, like a liquidity access line, right? So like using that as a collateral. So when for HELOC especially, it took me really long because I had to also gather evidence when I bought the house, which was around 8 years back. I had to provide documents for that house purchase, like how that funds were sourced, right? So that kind of a detailing I had to. The key thing was the main problem was banks usually only keep statements for 7 years. Some banks keep for more, but like a lot of the top banks, like they only keep statements available for 7 years. So for some of the transactions, I was not able to get the statements prior to 7 years. So that was really a challenge. So that took a bit more time, and but that is for like a house purchase. So it's kind of a one level below, right? Like I'm taking a HELOC, but the kind of a SOF preparation that the legal team does, which is kind of a make sure that uh, we are covered, like if there is any follow-up question comes. So that was, I tried to gather the information. Somehow I had some historical document which I had used for original mortgage, which I had shared. So, but that really, those statements like historical ones. So I would say if you are trying to get the sources, right, so having those historical statements really help. So if you're starting, make sure you kind of immediately you go and start to download those the historical statement for all the kind of sources that you're trying to use, right? So that you are covered there. So and for the other ones, like even for the equities, right? So you had to go and I was kind of diversified into multiple brokerage houses. I had to consolidate all in one place. I went with like a liquidity access offering of Morgan Stanley, which was a single place where you put all your equities, and then you can get a liquidity access line against that. So I consolidated that, but that also involved like getting statements from all these brokerage houses for all the years in past. So really took a lot of time there to collect all those documents. So that was one, like those things for me took more time. Then obviously you have to go back and get all your immigration history, like a previous like a visas, previous all the documentary evidence, right? That is required for your when you are filing from the US. You can do the concurrent filing, right? We can file your 485 and your advance payroll and uh, those documents together with 526E. So for all of them is additional information which is needed, like your salary slips, your spouse salary slips, and your tax returns. Tax returns also it has to go. So all that information, considering the amount of that is involved, it really does take time. So if you take some time off, I would say it would become much, you would be able to kind of get it done sooner. But yeah, that like, and one crucial thing over here is that the birth certificates, like a lot of folks who are born in India sometimes don't have the birth certificate in English, right? So you need to make sure you have uh, somebody, you have those in English, right? So you have to get those translated, all those, right? So those are like a crucial. Your marriage certificates also needs to be there, and so I had to make sure like all of these documents. For me, I had those birth certificate and others ready, not for EB5, but somehow I had heard about this kind of a issue for your 485 and other steps. I had just prepared it that way, so I had those ready. So, and also other than that, I would say that's what took like really like a key time which was taken. So all this information was shared by the lawyer team. I think it was just the list of documents that I needed to share with them. And once I gave them in parallel, I was kind of they're trying to make sure that all the funding source which was identified is backed up with documentary evidence, and there is a clear like a paper trail, right, from how the funds are, what funds were used to buy the equities, whether those were RSUs, whether they were you like had you purchased those through your salary. So all those like document. So it was verified by the legal team.
Got it. Okay, so now, that you've gone through that process, you've gotten your application submitted, Darren approved the source of funds. What advice would you have for someone considering EB5 with respect to, selecting an attorney and going through that process?
Yes. So overall, I would say like this space, right? EB5, especially, I would prefer private like attorneys, right? Not the that's just personal preference, but when we go through them and when we analyze these folks, right? So I feel like more or less people had like a pretty good experience. It's just about the availability of them, right? How like available and accessible the lawyers are, right? So I would base my like recommendation based on that. So I would say my experience with Darren's team has been excellent, right? And I will recommend them as well. But in general, I felt like overall, like there are few other attorneys that usually are, once you start your due diligence, any potential investor who should like when he does his due diligence, he would hear certain names repeated frequently, right? So I would kind of consider like based on when they interact and based on their priority and how much sooner they can get their petition filed. I think that those should be the key criteria.
Okay, perfect. That makes sense. All right, so shifting topics now and going over to the regional center and the projects. Let's first break that down and spend some time talking about the regional center. So as you had engaged Darren to help with your application, source of funds, tell us about your experience kind of researching potential regional centers and what your conversations were like with EB5AN and other regional centers as you were exploring potential companies to to look at particular projects with. What were some of the differences that you found between regional centers?
Sure. So once I had like the legal and then this they're working on SOF, right? Then the time was to figuring out the project that you need to work with, right? So I had been studying like a lot of RCs, and as I said, right, the Discord forum really helped with a lot of insights. Like people have done their due diligence, so they had shared it. So that really helped. So my primary goal was when I started with my journey, right? Like I was kind of thinking initially, even with the Darren's team, that okay, I'll opt for something which is the unsecured loan option by the RCs. I was kind of the interest rate offered over there was too good to be true, right? And it was considering the commitment needed, right, from that. So I felt like that is like anybody naturally would be kind of inclined towards that, right? So because you are getting, you don't have to sell your equities or get others, right? So I initially had that as my investment, like how I would fund my 800K. But when I did evaluate few RCs which offered those, and was kind of a very much certain that I would go with one, right? But then as I did more and more analysis, right, and I heard a bit more about these options, potential risks, and why the RC related affiliated loans could be could have any a potential kind of a scenario where it does not qualify for based on the investment at risk the rule that USCIS has, right? So those kind of gave a bit doubt in my mind, so which made me rethink about the whole the funding part, right? So I was able to kind of ensure that if I not go with the RC loan, I can still had the sufficient like I could leverage against my equities to fill that gaps, right? So I kind of preferred that route, which kind of gave me more peace of mind and lesser risk, because this is already everything is already a risk. So I wanted to kind of cover that part. So once I kind of decided going against that, right, then I thought like, okay, infrastructure project was the one which I should go for, because there were hardly like a couple of infrastructure projects in the market, and I should like go for them. And but it's just 5%, and retrogression, if it kicks in, right, has potentially, and there were many, I think, infrastructure projects which were in pipeline. So I was kind of again not really sure about that. Then obviously next one was, which was a bit less risk, as the HUA like related HUA kind of projects, right, which I evaluated few, and they all were kind of seemed good. The only problem with those were they were not having priority processing. So and there was again a lesser amount of quota for them, I think, and I kind of then shifted focus on the rural one. I evaluated like that's when I kind of between when I dropped my criteria for like RC affiliated loans, I then really kind of started looking into EB5AN very seriously, right? Because the kind of projects which were there, and they all look pretty solid, right? And all of were having so the main thing that I was that time looking for then was the trifecta, right? Which I would say I was looking for something which has which was a rural, which was has a senior loan, and it had a quick deployment and shorter loan term, and also the 956 should be approved, right? So I was like kind of going through that trifecta and trying to figure out which one qualifies from the EB5AN. And during this journey, right, with EB5AN, I had a very good, I would say, advisor from EB5AN, Jordan. I really felt like Jordan, and the way he explained or engaged with me had been one of the key, what you call a reason, right, for the, yeah, I'm going with like EB5, right? I had he was very transparent, right, and he was never he never oversell anything, right? He was very grounded, right? He would really be very kind of, I would say, any conversation you have, I had with him, and it was all realistic, right? It was conservative, right? And making sure that you understand like the potential, all the risk, right? So not only they were not only related to EB5AN in general, but overall the EB5 program, right? Like there were
Yep.
so that those I felt like from the Jordans, those conversation kind of were really very helpful, right? I kind of I mean, I mean, I really that's one of the key reasons, right? The conversation with Jordan I had, and further on that, right? So once I had like kind of looked at EB5AN's multiple projects, there were quite a few projects, right, which kind of fit fit in this bucket. And you want me to continue, or Sam, you have?
Yeah, I think before we jump a little more into the projects, how was that conversation and experience working with Jordan about the process and about different options? How did that experience with him differ from some of the other conversations you had with other staff from other regional centers? Like what was different in your mind that made you feel more comfortable with Jordan?
Yes, yes. So with each regional center, obviously I had the initial meeting, right? I spoke with the individuals, everyone in the beginning, right? Like all RCs like folks, they're very professional, right? They will give the overview about the project, about EB5 in general. So everything was like the good, right? But with the Jordan, right, there was more like I would say my conversations with Jordan, like when I look back at my time, right, they span over 5 months, right? So right from the very early exploration, I was engaging with Jordan, right? Then during the due diligence process, right, during subsequent steps, right, and even for post investment, right? So I think it continued, right? It was not like a one-off sales speech or anything like that, right? So it was very much kind of a relationship sort of, right? A sustained, I would say, sustained relationship. And
Okay. Okay.
yeah, sure. I can give more like in general, like my experience with Jordan. Like if you want me to, I want to spend like a couple of minutes. I really want to
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
acknowledge like a Jordan's role here, right? He was very transparent, right? He gave me like he always like provided the realistic, like as I say, right, like any downside, like the scenario, right, like not just the best case, right? So he was very kind of transparent, right? So the HUA potential retrogression, that word, right, and he never forced anything on me, right? Like it was more towards like let the SOF and other things move at its pace, right? And making sure he's available for any question, right? So he wasn't really pushy, right? I would say he was more patient and let the process complete, like SOF and others, right? So so that was I really appreciated that, right? And he really had very strong, I would say, like a depth of EB5, right? The internals, like if there was a question people had, right? I had question around the sustainment period and the about like the which are some pending litigations around the sustainment period interpretation around that and others, right? So he was very much aware and had very clear opinions around that, right? And he never, so that's something I really appreciate. So for the Jordans, my interaction with him.
Okay. Okay, got it. All right, so let's spend a few minutes now on the project selection. So you mentioned EB5AN had a number of projects that kind of met some of the criteria you were looking for. What walk us through kind of what that criteria was in terms of project characteristics, you know, rural versus urban, senior loan versus non-senior loan, construction underway. You know, what were some of the things that you were really looking for in terms of project characteristics, and then what kind of ultimately led you to focus in on the Bay Creek project?
Sure, sure. So EB5, like when I EB5 and right when I evaluated multiple projects, like some of them were early, and some of them were already in the phase 2 or 3, right? So I evaluated few which had already like investors in that, right? And the deployment timeline for them, right, was almost like a couple of years, right? So my trifecta, which I mentioned earlier, right, was very clear, right? Which was, so first of all, like rural, right? So I was kind of I wanted a rural because of the faster processing for those visas. Then senior loan was another criteria, and the deployment time was also very crucial, right? So deployment time, Bay Creek being when I did investment in August time frame, it was new, and the only thing which was not there, one more thing which I was looking for was the partial investment. So that is another key thing, right? That kind of this project was open for partial investment, right? Where I could do initial commitment of I did like in the two. I did in two parts. Right, one I did the initial commitment with the partial investment, got into the project, and then in end of last year I did the complete commitment. So that partial investment was also supported. The only thing which was not there for Bay Creek, which I was looking for, was 956 approval at that time. But that was the only thing, right? So that's why that's where my legal team kind of helped me there, like with this, right? So they were kind of with the EB5ANs, like a past record for 956 related approvals and everything, right? I went with that risk that the 956 not being approved. I still kind of believed in the overall project. I looked at the documentation which is required for 956, right? The project documents which were kind of meeting those criteria, right? It was in the targeted rural area. It had the job creation numbers made sense, and there was no concern around 956 not being like approved, right? So I went with the Bay Creek felt like meets all my criteria. So that's the main reason I would say I went with, because it made my rural senior loan like a fast deployment, and the loan duration was also relatively smaller compared to other projects which were there. So, and the partial investment. So those were the key things, right, which kind of made me pick Bay Creek.
Gotcha. Okay. And how important was the rural aspect of the investment to your decision to go with Bay Creek?
Yeah, so if let's say in a hypothetical case, if rural and the HUA were kind of having a similar processing timelines, right, I would have gone with HUA because they're mostly in the urban areas, right? And so I would have gone for that. But rural, the main reason was the faster processing, right? And in here with Bay Creek, the other factors also helped, where the loan term was shorter, like which is similar to HOA projects that I have evaluated, and it was kind of a faster processing, so made more sense to go with the rural, the Bay Creek project.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right. So once you had decided Bay Creek was going to be the project for your filing, tell us a little bit about what that process after making that decision was like, working with Jordan, working with our onboarding team to get the subscription agreement completed, test wire to the escrow account, all the documents with Darren. How was that process? How long did it take? And what were the things that kind of went into that?
Yeah. So one more thing, right, before I go into there, like another thing that really kind of was crucial was I wanted to use my SDIRA investments, and Bay Creek also had like the SDIRA based investment support, right? So you can use that. So when I started this the subscription, like the process, right? Worked with the team EB5, right? All the folks, like, they shared the details. The very first was I wanted to do the initial one from my SDIRA, so the details were shared, like Alto IRA, right? That's what the platform was used. They gave the details, and once I had, it was very straightforward for the SDIRA investment. And one more thing which was required, and I had to get that. Don't know, like, it was about the accredited investor, right? So that's also, we need to get that one done. So that's also was helpful there. So I got those in, and all the details which were shared by the EB5AN onboarding team related to our the taste wires were very clear, right? The information I was able to kind of get it into the bank, and straightforward. There was no flagging anything from the wire transfer point of view. I know if whoever is doing due diligence, he may encounter on the community forums that sometimes the fund transfers, they don't go through, and there is additional follow-up needed. But I had no such experience. Like, everything went smoothly. The instructions were very clear. As soon as I did the transfer, I received the wire confirmation receipt notices on the same date or immediately the next date. So included all the detailed information. I shared those with the legal team. So overall, that onboarding process, right, was very I would say, smooth.
Okay. Okay, got it. Okay. All right, very good. All right, so now, having kind of gone through the entire process, gotten everything filed, submitted, what general advice would you have for other potential investors looking at making an EB5 investment, later this year, let's say?
Yeah, so I think, like, whoever is evaluating like EB5, right? I know they have, most likely, I had explored like other options like EB1A, EB1C, but that did not work out for me, right? So I'm sure, like, whoever is evaluating now EB5 had done most likely those paths, or are going through this. So one thing is that the source of fund, right, is kind of at a first it may seem like it's not, like, you cannot make it, right? 800K is like a large one, but if you are really kind of looking seriously for that, right? And if you look at your financial, if you move around your assets and you use them as leverage, as a against as a collateral, and try to get these funds, if that's the path one wants to follow, I would say, like, they can do that. Like, I felt like there is the opportunity cost is certainly there, right? And but if you are serious about this one, right, I would say do the due diligence on the parts, right? Look at the potential retrogression in some categories, which is not there yet, but there is always a noise in there where it will happen sometime. But yeah, I would say move fast and work closely with the legal team, do the constant follow-up, right? Because those folks are also kind of having multiple clients. So from our side, like, whoever is trying to do it, right, try to, once you decide on that, right, try to get in as soon as possible. And certainly the partial investment route really helps to lock in the date. So I would certainly say that if you're still trying to figure out the funds, I would still say go with the partial investment and try to lock in the priority date. That's what my suggestion to the potential investors would be. And certainly, right, there are multiple projects available, right, with the EB5AN, which really meets the criteria. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, great. All right. And so last question, would you recommend your EB5 immigration attorney Darren Silver and EB5AN to other foreign investors considering EB5 and why?
So yes, so Darren Silver I would recommend because Darren and his team was able to kind of prioritize, give me the get those petitions and then a source of fund completed like within the short duration, and I was able to lock in the priority, right? And so that's the main reason. He's very knowledgeable, and he has done study of multiple RCs, and he's familiar with like a lot of projects. So he understands the project structures, and would recommend or give his opinion. With he will not be like biased towards one, but he will just give more his professional opinion. That's what I like. And from an EB5AN, certainly means I had one thing that I had was like the relationship I had built with the folks, right? The EB5AN. It was really helpful to clarify a lot of my questions, and the overall there is very much transparency. The information is available on the website for the ongoing projects, and if you have any questions, you get back like a response very quickly. And overall, I felt I think EB5AN really values the folks who they are engaging with, whether they convert into the subscriber or not, right? But they would always kind of be there to answer or help with the general question, confusion around EB5 as a whole, right? So that's what I really liked about EB5AN, right? So and I would highly certainly recommend EB5AN projects, and you will definitely find the kind of project you're looking for, because EB5AN has I think there is like a the lot of like large like inventory of projects, right? So certainly you will find a project that works for you with EB5AN's portfolio.
Great. Thank you very much, Shiv, for taking some time today to share your experience. That's very helpful and comprehensive. And yeah, we really appreciate you putting your faith and trust in EB5AN on your EB5 application, and also glad that you had a great experience working with Darren Silver's office, who we work with closely on many cases. So excellent. Yeah, and as I'm sure you probably saw, the first I-5260 approval for the Bay Creek project just came in a few days ago, just over it was like 128 days. So we're starting to see those approvals come in, and yeah, we should get a lot more of those over the next couple of months.
What's the if you like, what was their like a priority date? Was it August or before, or?
It was also in August, because it was just approved a few days ago. So right around the time that you filed, like very close.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Shiv. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks.